Well, you made it once again. I am Jason Gutierrez, and this is Inconsistency. It's very unfortunate I have to start today's episode off on a very, very sour note, but it's very important that I talk about this. As many of you must know by now, there was a shooting, a terrorist attack, I would venture to say, in New Zealand that has left 49 dead. So of course we asked this, an attack like this happens and the first question is why? And it seems like we have, it's a why and who. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving the camera. And it seems like the why is, now this is getting into, it's a murky thing. The waters are muddied on this one, and it's very hard to tell. So on the face of it, right up front, we have the shooter. Okay, so first things first, let me, give the details of the whole thing so that I can say how I got this information. The shooter, this was in New Zealand. The shooter live streamed the attack on Facebook Live, I believe. He also posted a manifesto on 4chan and 8chan. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, I am as well. Excuse me. There are Reddit type sites, and they, it's a Reddit type of site, so it's just a forum for people to put out their stuff. And in this manifesto, I looked through it very, very lightly. I didn't read through much of it. I did see it. It's kind of hard to come by, but I mean, if you want to see it, you can look for it. I won't be putting it up. I don't know. I guess that's what everybody's saying to not do, to not pass this guy's name around. I'm definitely not going to name him at all. But in the manifesto, the terrorist, he explains that he did this because he believes that the West is under attack. He talks a lot about the reproduction numbers or the birth rates amongst white men and amongst Europeans. And the basic broad term of it is he is upset that his country is being taken over by Muslim people. So he took it upon himself to attack and shoot them. Now that's the very face of it. That's what's being reported. If you want to see, I'll just read this quick article from CNN just so that we can get that out of the way. That's the wrong. Oh, let me resize this. Okay. So, boop, boop, boop. 49 killed in mass shooting at 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. So it was 2 mosques. At least 49 people were killed and 20 seriously injured in mass shootings at 2 mosques in the New Zealand city of Christchurch Friday in a carefully planned and unprecedented atrocity that shocked the usually peaceful nation. The attack was unleashed at lunchtime, local time Friday, when mosques were full of worshippers. Footage of the massacre was streamed live online, and a rambling manifesto laced with white supremacist references was published just before the shooting unfolded. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern described the horror as a terrorist attack, saying it was perpetrated by a suspect with extremist views that had no place in her country or in the wider world. It was one of the New Zealand's darkest days, she said in a press conference Friday. Authorities said that every law enforcement resource in the country was mobilized after the attack. Okay, so that's pretty much the thing. What they say is accurate enough in that he was espousing all of these white extremist views in that. But the motives have come under debate amongst the Twitter sphere and amongst the internet. And the belief that I personally hold, and that a lot of more right-wingers would hold, I would say, is that this why do I insist upon saying this? That this man organized this attack, and he he orchestrated it, and he made it in a way because he wanted to expedite the civil war that a lot of us, and by a lot of us, I mean me and people that I listen to, have seen coming or believe it has been coming for a long time. And he said certain things like during the shooting, I guess he said, subscribe to PewDiePie, which to those who don't know, and I don't know PewDiePie I don't watch I don't watch his channel or any of that, but he's the most subscribed to YouTube channel, and he has been blamed or accused of, or he's been associated with the alt-right and being a Trump supporter and being anti-immigration and being just a right-winger and an extremist to people's views. Now, you could take it two ways. Either one, that the shooter did want people to subscribe to PewDiePie, or the theory that's coming out from the right is that the man was trying to orchestrate, trying to get the media to come out and attack the right wing because he wants everybody picking sides, and basically he wanted to expedite the oncoming civil war. He basically wants to get rid of everyone in the middle. He wants to make the middle a no man's land, and then everybody picks sides, and then the fight can go on. So this is obviously things are still coming out, but the discussion now that I've seen from the mainstream media basically follows the lines of, okay, so why didn't well, first they go out and they say we need to take down all links to the video. We need to take this off of all social media sites. And then it becomes, okay, why didn't social media sites catch this? What did we have before to see if this was going to happen? How did we just let this happen and do nothing about it? And then, of course, it becomes an internet thing. Some people are coming out and trying to blame PewDiePie. Others are saying no, that this is a man trying to start a fight. Please don't buy into it. They're asking the media not to. Either way, there are reports that 4chan and 8chan were banned in New Zealand. There are reports here. This is from the Washington Post, that gun laws are going to change in response to the Christchurch terrorist attack. So it seems as though he's gonna get what he wanted if his goal was to start a civil war. His view is that the West has he mentioned like Donald Trump, and he mentioned the basic right left, which is now the right left divide that has been widening and widening, that I talk about a lot on here. And he's pushing for it, and I think that, and you do see people on Twitter coming out and saying, oh yeah, this is all PewDiePie and PewDiePie's fans, and this is all because of these racist, Islamophobic tweets and ideals that they have, and they're basically lumping in all right-wingers and all anti-immigration people with the shooter, which is only going to alienate everybody more. It seems like the gun control is probably going to be pushed. This happened on a Friday, right? This happened Friday, was it? Yesterday? Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. So we'll see how the laws change and what happens on Monday. But for right now, it seems like the pressure is to push social media sites to monitor the content put on their websites more closely and to drop the hammer on that. And they're going to be changing gun laws, and we will see where this goes. I truly fear that this is going to be another drop in the bucket, albeit a very big one, of the civil war and the civil unrest and the culture war that we're facing in the United States and more broadly in the Western world. I don't see what we do from here. I don't see how we come together. I hope we do, but I don't see it as happening. Um, but for now, this is all I have to report on that. I'll I'll probably end up talking about it more next week. Sorry that I didn't get last week's episode up on time. I had it listed as private the whole time. I just operator error on that. It's completely my fault. I put it out today. I'll put this one after. So if you want to check that one out, you can. But in that one, I did talk about more of this very same split. So it kind of is actually worth it to see it today. I did it a week ago. I did it last week. And in that same episode, I was talking about how, well, Tim Pool was talking about, because he was on Joe Rogan, talking with the people at Twitter, and they were talking about how everything's skewing one way and that the civil war is happening and people aren't coming together. And it seems like we're in the thick of it. 2019 seems like it's going to be a very, very active year for everybody. And I mean, it's just March and we've had a lot of action going. So another story that happened, and this was actually this goes exactly with the theme of how we're getting rid of conservatives. This actually happened before Christchurch happened. So this was, this obviously is now getting buried under the fact that there was a massive shooting and people are upset. But I would assume it won't take very long for it to come back in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so Tucker Carlson calls women extremely primitive in an unearthed video. If you weren't checking Twitter on Thursday, I guess if you weren't checking Twitter before this attack happened, you wouldn't have come across the hashtag Fire Tucker Carlson. And people want to fire Tucker Carlson because they have gone back to things that he has said in old radio interviews. And when I say old, I mean old as in radio was still a big thing. Old pre-Obama videos or audio of Tucker Carlson on a show called Bubba the Love Sponge. For those of you who don't know who Bubba the Love Sponge is, you can imagine it's not exactly a serious show. It's not exactly NPR. It was a shock jock show. The clips are from between 2006 and 2011, so just think about that. A decade ago on the radio on a shock jock show that's a completely dead thing, and this is before all of Me Too and all of these things, but Media Matters ensured that they would come out to Media Matters combed through all of these old articles and they put it out, and they put it out with the hashtag of Fire Tucker Carlson. So let's see what he said. Let's listen to what the man said and see what is going on.
Underage girls.
No, he's in prison for facilitation of child rape.
Whatever the hell that means.
That means
he's in prison. He's in prison because he's weird and unpopular, and he has a different lifestyle that other people find creepy.
No, he's an accessory to the rape of children. That is a felony, and a serious one at that.
What do you mean an accessory? He's like got some weird religious cult where he thinks it's okay to, marry underage girls, but he didn't do it. Why wouldn't the guy who actually did it, who had sex with an underage girl, he should be the one who's doing life? The rapist in this case has made a lifelong commitment to live and take care of the person. So it is a little different. I mean, let's just be honest about it. He's not accused of touching anybody. He is accused of...
This is from 9506.
Between a 16-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. That's the accusation. That's what they're calling felony rape.
But in our state,
that's bullshit. I'm sorry. Now, this guy may be a total creep, maybe a child rapist. I'm just telling you that arranging a marriage between a 16-year-old and a 27-year-old is not the same as pulling a stranger off the street and raping her.
Is that not fair to say? I mean, not to go like full defend Tucker, but they aren't the same thing. Marriage and rape, felony rape. Especially if you're not the one doing it. That seems like a lot. Unless, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what case this is that they're talking about. But given the details that he's giving, they do seem like separate things. I understand that. Especially nowadays, with all the stuff that's going on, this is a really sensitive issue, and no doubt that's why they decided to pull all this stuff out a decade, actually more than that's 13 years, 12 years ago. This was said, and now we have to bring it out. I mean, come on, man. It's I guess that's what we're doing though nowadays. We're all bringing up old things that were said, and we're all bringing up the past to where no one's gonna be able to live at peace. Like I said, we just keep if you're on the wrong side now, we're gonna come out and attack you, and we're gonna use any trick in the book, and nothing's off limits.
Bullshit. But you know what? In my brief experience, what gets women going is arguing with them.
Really?
Yeah.
Brad, I never use that.
It's true. You debate politics with a woman and just go, just full blown out there, especially feminism. If you're talking to a feminist and she's giving you, men really need to be more sensitive, and this. No, actually, men don't need to be more sensitive. You just need to be quiet and kind of do what you're told.
And lighten up a little bit, bitch.
They love it.
Alexis Stewart, we run into her all the time.
She seems
Cunt.
awful.
Yeah, she is awful.
They're very cunty.
She seems extremely.
I like
cunty.
to hear that word out of. Oh yeah, I stepped over me. She seems what now? Go ahead.
She seems what now? This is Bubba the Love Sponge. Just like radio host, old stupid jock
Right,
shit.
I love
That
Tucker Carlson tonight on MSNBC. A girl that comes across kind of cunty.
But she
That's right.
does. I mean, I heard her.
Okay, so this was a big part. They made a lot of articles about this, and they're saying that Tucker Carlson makes inappropriate remarks about women, and he calls them cunts. Do we not remember, maybe 6 months ago or something like that, 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, where Miss Samantha Bee called and Ivanka Trump was it Ivanka or Melania? I think it was Ivanka. She called her a quote-unquote feckless cunt. She kept her job. And that was like live on TV during now when we're all feminists and we're all supposed to be the fighters for women. So I believe it's needless to say that there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on here. And I guess hearing cunt coming from a woman, especially when paired with the old joke of like, oh yeah, you know what? No. And women like a fight, but don't you? Don't you like? Doesn't anybody like having a challenge? Don't people like getting into an argument a little bit? Do you really want to live in a life? Do you want to be with somebody that agrees with you on everything? That never says, you know what? Nah, that's dumb. Or, you know what? I disagree with you. Is that what you want in life? You never want to be challenged? I kind of agree. I believe women would respect you more, at least. Yeah, I believe they're more respected, and I believe women at a certain point like it when a man is a little bit assertive and tells her, no, you know what? No, I don't agree with you with this.
Now, I'm a Brent fan, so, okay, I'm stating my bias right out front here. But I heard her on with him, and I just wanted to give her the spanking she so desperately
I actually
needs.
want.
When she's laying her head in your bed at night, you know who the hell's in her bedroom and what they're doing. Nobody, just her. Well, when she's in a dormitory-type setting and these little girls start experimenting around,
I don't know what he's talking about.
You know, you got a lesbian on your hands.
I don't think that's likely.
Next thing you know, boom.
Next thing you know, Brad, what's going on in the Combe dormitory? Nothing. I don't got a PSP to play. I ain't got nothing going on. I ain't got my mom and dad here to tell me that they love me and tuck me in bed. So here's Trixie, and she wants to explore my body a little bit. So, hey, let's go crazy. Wow.
So, like...
If it weren't my daughter,
That's
I'd
one
applaud
theory.
that.
Well, I mean, it's
I just can't, and I just think that's pretty unlikely.
Can you tell them
That's
as
hilarious.
outlandish as that is, how old is your daughter?
So you can't say that you would like lesbians? You can't say that lesbians are hot? I thought that was a whole move. I thought now everybody was being sexually free. And I thought isn't that more accepting than thinking that they're not hot? That seems pretty accepting, so long as you're not Tucker's daughter, I guess. Ooh, he's going out on a limb and he's saying lesbianism is kind of hot. What a savage.
Well, I love women, but they're extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand.
Okay. Okay, I don't know. That when he mentioned 14, now I gotta back off. Damn it, Tucker. Was he saying that it would be kind of a hot scenario? Well, no, because they were talking about college kids. Yeah, they were talking about college kids after that. So, I maintain I can say that college lesbians can be hot, could be hot. Just keeping it broad over there. Not saying that they are or aren't. I'm saying that it is possible that it could be hot.
Putting Paris and Brittany in a commercial with Obama is classic old school miscegenation, old South.
Uncle Tom.
It's old South. These two young white girls are going to be dating a black man.
Say that he's coming for your pristine white daughters by putting two of the biggest white whores in America.
You want to fuck Sarah Palin?
There's that. There is that. I'll agree with that. I feel sorry for unattractive women. I mean, there's nothing they did, you know?
What's better than hockey, weed, and whores? I mean...
But you know, first of all, there's no
hockey, weed, and whores
that you'd want to pay to sleep with. Anybody who answers my trophy wife is my favorite possession is my hero. I don't give a shit. I'm voting for the guy.
All right, that's Media Matters. They're coming after him. And this was actually a two-pronged attack. So what they did was they put out a feeler. They put out one little bit of misogyny. And they're like, oh, you see what Tucker Carlson did? Oh, my God. And then they start the hashtag. They let it percolate for the day. Then they come back. Boom. We got one more. An instance of Tucker Carlson being a piece of shit. And we will be sure to let you see it. Here we go. Roll clip. This is from Now This.
I'm Captain Obvious, and Hotels.com rewards me
Not on
basically
mine.
everywhere I stay.
No, it does not here. I'm going to pull this back. Not here, it doesn't. Now this. Trying to trick me with an ad. Oh my goodness, they want me to wait 17 seconds. There's some scumbags. I purposely went and checked all this stuff afterwards. Or beforehand so that it wouldn't work. And then they got me anyway. 4, 2, 3. Here you go. I forgot, it's mostly just fucking their own background music.
Miss Teen USA, Miss Teen South Carolina.
I got to be honest. I mean, I thought she was kind of appealing.
I thought she was hot.
Okay, wait a second. Let me actually just give me a second. I have to pull up the clip. If you don't know what this is one of the funniest clips of Miss America history. So they were talking about Miss South Carolina, and I don't remember when this was. It was like a decade ago. But it was such a dumb answer. If you don't remember South Carolina. If you don't remember Miss South Carolina, she had that famous... There we go. It comes up on YouTube pretty quickly. Just type in, this was 07. Miss South Carolina answers a question. Let's see what we got here.
New Listerine Ready.
Jeez, they're getting me with all the ads today. Oof. Okay.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map.
Jeez.
Why do you think
a
this
fifth?
is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such
this
as
poor girl.
South Africa and
she's so cute.
Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should.
That poor soul. She's so pretty and cute, and she's just such a dullard.
Or should help South Africa, and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries.
The Iraq and the Asian countries. Look at Mario. Wait, one second. I'm sorry. I gotta go right back. Look at Mario. Wait a second.
Thank you very much.
Bring it back right here.
So we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Oh, I'm sorry. My laptop does not enjoy.
Iraq and the Asian countries.
Okay, there we go.
So we will be able to
look
build
at Mario.
Up our future
He can't hide his smirk.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, Mario Lopez is a pro. So if you've got Mario Lopez looking at you like you're a dummy, you might just be a dummy. Ugh. Okay. So I just wanted to give a little context on who exactly he's talking about when they're making fun of somebody, because she should be made fun of. Also, to all you leftists out there, yeah, she's a cis white woman. So yeah, you can hate her too. She's she's heteronormative. So fuck her, right? I think that's the rules. I think that's how it works. So intense.
What's South Carolina? It's probably 16 in South Carolina.
She'd probably be a pretty good wife.
Now somebody said she may be 18 now.
That's Nah.
Oh yeah, she definitely looks 18.
Yeah, you know-
Don't you think? I mean, if you had a wife that dumb, would it be good or bad?
Good.
Good.
Did you hear the audio of her answer?
Did I hear it? Well, we gave it prominent play in the show yesterday.
Did I hear it?
It made my day.
That was the whole show. She made my whole day.
Now Mario, who was hosting it, whom I know is a pretty good guy, what do you think the odds are that he tied into that after the show?
That he tied into that.
85%.
I would say at least 90.
Now, hold on. Let me ask you a question. How old's Mario?
He was on Saved by the Bell years ago.
Mario,
It's gotta be like 38
So remember, this
now.
is 07.
3 years younger than I am, so he's
What's
35.
South? You're saying now that maybe Mario might have plowed that?
Oh, how
Oh my God! Of course, are you kidding?
how tough would it be? All you gotta do is, hey, you know, I have a map of the United States on my penis. Would you like to check it out?
exactly.
Tee-hee-hee-hee.
When
I don't think they're that funny.
She's vulnerable. She's like a wounded gazelle
She's
separated
perfect.
from the herd.
So you
She's
think-
ripe for the taking.
You think
She's
Mario may have
perfect.
plowed that?
Oh my God! Are you kidding? Yes.
Well, she was 17. Couldn't that be a problem? Couldn't that be a problem legally if Mario f***ed it?
No.
Fucked it.
Are you kidding?
There's
Ew.
weird.
He's like James Brown. He gets a pass.
Wow, Mario.
You know, the
Boy,
normal laws
Tucker
that
is
kind of
dark.
thing don't apply to him.
Tucker is.
Okay, so that the rest of it goes on, and we'll show Tucker's response in a second. I'll pull it up, but I think that's actually something really important, and it shows you that everything that we're outraged about now and everything that we get upset about has been common knowledge and has been known amongst the world forever. And I guess people want to change that now, but this has been a thing, and I don't think it'll cease to be a thing because we are trying to make it as such. He just said that Mario Lopez, who of course we don't know if he did or did not sleep with Miss South Carolina, he just said that the rules don't apply to Mario Lopez because he's like James Brown. Excuse me. That shows that even back then, and all the way back in 2007, people knew that all of this Me Too stuff and all of these laws and all of these rules and all of this sexual deviancy or whatever you want to call it, all of this Me Too stuff has been going on forever and people have been getting away with it. And I find it interesting that when somebody tells the truth about it, and they don't say it as if they're sad and they're upset about it, if you tell the truth without crying about it, now you're under fire and now we have to try to fire you. I don't think it's fair. And I think that it's absolutely, I know that it's one-sided. But the problem is it's only aimed at conservatives. But conservatives have been firing back. And shout out to Tucker Carlson because we will see how he responded. And I believe that Tucker did it perfectly in what he did. Give me 1 second to pull that one up. I don't believe there's an ad on this, which, hallelujah. Here's Tucker. Play, damn you. Please play. Maybe here, maybe not. Maybe no Tucker. Let's see. Hit a quick refresh. The wonders of the internet, right, fellas? Right, people? Fellas. Yeah, well, I would assume it's not too many women out there watching the videos. If they are women out there watching the video, thank you very much. You're one of the few, the proud, the Jason fans. I don't know. The inconsisteers. I really have. I'm just fighting all of these ads.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. As anyone who's ever been caught in
Wow, that's
ears
quiet.
can tell you, the great American outrage machine is a remarkable thing. One day you're having dinner with your family, imagining everything is fine. The next, your phone is exploding with calls from reporters. They read you snippets from a press release written by Democratic Party operatives. They demand to know how you could possibly have said something so awful and offensive. You have a statement on how immoral you are? It's a bewildering moment, especially when the quotes in question are more than a decade old. There's really not that much you can do to respond. It's pointless to try to explain how the words were spoken in jest or taken out of context, or in any case bear no resemblance to what you actually think or would want for the country. None of that matters. Nobody cares. You know the role you're required to play. You are a sinner begging the forgiveness of Twitter. So you issue a statement of deep contrition. You apologize profusely for your transgressions. You promise to be a better person going forward. With the guidance of your contrition consultants, you send money to whatever organization claims to represent the people you supposedly offended. Then you sit back and brace for a wave of stories about...
Okay, that clip is super quiet, and forget that clip because for some reason my laptop is buzzy if I try to play a quiet clip through that. All right. But long story short, Tucker Carlson is not apologizing. Tucker Carlson said, "Bite me," basically. And he is saying that the outrage machine will not stop him. But what do we have? So free speech is a thing that we should all hold dear, but more and more people think it's under attack, and I am one of those people. I agree 100% that I believe it's being attacked. And so not only are they trying to get Tucker fired, but here is the response from Newsweek to this whole article about, well, I guess I believe it's a response and advocation for it, but it's worded in a way that it's not. But let's see what Newsweek decides is important to point out when they hear about all of the scandal going on after Tucker Carlson. Okay, here is the quote from Newsweek. Tucker Carlson could face hate speech charges if he were Canadian or British. Isn't that scary? I mean, just right off the top, before I say anything else, isn't that scary? Isn't that just on principle, just a terrifying idea that you could be jailed or charged? When they say charged, yeah, okay, you could look at charge and be like, well, yeah, they would probably just give you a fine or they would just do that. But on the grand scheme of things, the government only has one tool, and that tool is force, and that tool is we will throw you in jail with all of the force of law for your transgressions against humanity or against whatever now. Fox News personality Tucker Carlson has faced growing calls to resign after racist and sexist comments he made on a radio show several years ago, more like a decade, were brought to light by Media Matters. However, Canadian and British legal experts have told Newsweek that if Carlson were based in their countries, he could lose more than his job. With national hate speech laws, meaning the host's comments could constitute a chargeable offense. He could lose more than his job. He could lose his freedom. He could lose his whole life, basically, you know, because, oh yeah, we don't like what he said, and we would charge him with that. Over the past week, Media Matters released clips from calls Carlson made to the Bubba the Love Sponge show program between 2006 and 2011, and that date back to his time as a host at MSNBC. Maybe MSNBC is racist. Ever think of that? Yeah, I mean, we're after Tucker because he's on Fox now. But he was on MSNBC then, and they let him get away with saying stuff like that. Maybe we should boycott MSNBC. Maybe MSNBC should be fired. The recordings reveal Carlson making a number of racist and sexist remarks, including calling Iraq a, quote, crappy place filled with a bunch of, you know, semi-illiterate, primitive monkeys, and calling women, quote, extremely primitive pigs, whores, and the C word. They put C word in quotes. That's not, he didn't call people the C word. He called them cunts. I mean, yeah, that's not how quotes work, Newsweek. Come on, step it up. Grow some balls. Just call them cunts or don't put it in quotes. While Tucker defended his comments, citing his First Amendment right to freedom of speech, high-profile Toronto-based criminal lawyer David Butt told Newsweek the Fox News personality's remarks and former MSNBC personality, let's not forget that, his remarks could constitute, quote, hate speech in Canada, which under the country's criminal code can be considered a chargeable offense. Could these conversations, in terms of their content, qualify as hate speech under Canadian legislation, ? Yes, they could, Butt said. On their face, it's not difficult to see that when you're calling somebody pigs and whores as a class, that's hateful. I don't know that he called them pigs and... He didn't call all women pigs and whores. He called certain women whores, didn't he? Couldn't say all women are whores or all women are pigs. Anyway, so back to the quote. On their face, it's not difficult to see when you're calling somebody pigs and whores as a class that's hateful, that serves to undermine their humanity. However, Butt said, while it is certainly, quote, possible that Carlson could be charged for hate speech over his comments, there is a big difference between the possibility of a charge and the likelihood of a charge under Canada's hate speech laws. Okay, this to me is one of the most crazy, scary, authoritarian, Orwellian quotes that you could put out there. And I say that because when they say, oh, he could be charged, he might be charged, that shows, all right, well, so what is a law? Why do we have laws? And how is it best to exercise them? The way I thought we were supposed to have justice is Lady Liberty is supposed to be blind and apply the laws fairly amongst everyone. But when you say it, he could possibly be charged, but it's unlikely that he would, that is the worst type of law, because that is a law that can be selectively enforced and is it's basically all gray area. And that's the way they've worded the law, and I believe that's the way they've worded the law on purpose, because that way they can get away with it by saying like, oh, well, you're not likely to be charged, so it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. But at the end of the day, it's authoritarian nonetheless, and they get the worst of both worlds, where you're being an authoritarian, and what they do is they force people to self-censor, which is far more effective than blatant censorship, than straight up censorship. Straight up censorship tends to make somebody grow larger. But if you make them self-censor, you've then killed them and killed what they stand for. Just on a principle type of thing. And I believe that's what they're aiming for in Canada. And if you don't think it's scary, and if you don't think that this could be used unfairly, look no further than to a Mr. Mike Ward, who is a comedian in Canada who is right now, I believe he is still in court he's still in court defending himself because he was charged with hate speech because he made a joke about a kid who, I think I'm done with this article. The article's very long, and I got to where I need to be. But Mike Ward got charged in Canada for making a joke about a Make-A-Wish kid. I think it was the Make-A-Wish of over there. I don't think it's called Make-A-Wish, but it's the same basic idea. A kid that's terminal makes a wish, and then they try to grant it for him. So this kid's wish was to sing for the Pope. And he sang for the Pope, and they made a big deal about him. And then it had been 3 years, and then Mike Ward asked the question. He was like, hey, about this kid, shouldn't he be dead? Because he was supposed to be terminal, and he lasted longer than... Yeah, he lasted longer than it was said. He was saying, basically, it's a lie. He was never terminal. What is this? Yada, yada. I can see why that's offensive. I can see why that's upsetting. But should you be jailed for that? You can think it's funny or not, and obviously I didn't word it in a funny way, but should that be something that you can be charged with? And yeah, they hit you with a fine, but that doesn't justify anything. Just because the government starts with a fine doesn't mean that the case is justified or that you should be able to, that you should, just because it is a fine, at the end of the day, even if it is a fine, the threat of jail is still there. So they are threatening with taking your liberty in the context of Mike Ward saying a joke. So I believe that freedom of speech is something that we need to hold dear, and we need to understand that if certain people had their way, I believe they would try to press charges upon people for saying things that they don't like. And I don't know. I think it's worth saying that we should hold freedom of speech true. And even if you aren't a fan of Tucker Carlson or somebody that agrees with anything that he said, understand that social morals move. Morality is decided by the society at large, and it's not a black and white thing. And you have to look no further than things like it's usually the big things that change most, but I would say things like slavery. If you went back to the 1400s and you had a slave, nobody would look at you crazy. But now we all know that slavery is it's not only bad, it's not only shouldn't be done, it's not only illegal, it is immoral. And what I mean to say by that is, even if you are on the quote unquote right side of all of these laws that are being made, eventually if they move and you don't, you are going to be held under the same firing squad as the people that were on the wrong side now. And it's the old saying of first they came for the Mexicans. You know, I don't know exactly how it goes, but first they came for this group and I wasn't one of them, so I said nothing. Then they came for that group and I wasn't one of them, so I said nothing. And finally they came after my group and there was nobody left to stand up. I believe it's that. It's also a biblical it's also the biblical verse of, I don't remember where it is, but it's, to paraphrase, it's basically, what you do unto the worst of me, or what you do to the worst of my brothers, you do to me. And it's very true in this sense. And like, yeah, it's like, I understand. It's very easy to say, oh yeah, well, people that say hate speech shouldn't be able to talk ever. And I say, okay, well, I hope that you would be comfortable with that turning on you in a different circumstance. And I think we should be very weary, on how that is, we should be very weary on what we allow to be applied to the worst of us, especially when the elites, and I believe the people on the top, and when I say the people on the top, it can be either lawmakers or the rich or Hollywood, they're all hypocrites. And I mentioned Hollywood in this, and I emphasized it, because we have a very juicy story, and a story that, why is this moving? Okay. We have a very juicy story coming from Hollywood, and that is the college admission scandal. We have celebrities like Felicity Huffman. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Felicity Huffman, and I forgot who. I believe that's Aunt Becky. Give me 1 second to pull the thing up. Okay, so if you've been living under a rock, we have boom ba-doo-doo. Okay, let me see if I can do this without. Yeah, don't play. La 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 la. Skip this. Okay. So, Felicity Huffman deleted her social accounts Friday, just days after she was among 50 people charged in a widespread college admission scheme. The other high-profile actress, Lori Loughlin, removed her account Tuesday. Huffman's parenting website, What's the Flicka, also appeared to be taken down. Huffman is accused of paying $15,000 disguised as a tax-deductible charitable contribution. My apologies, I don't have this on screen. To a foundation operated by William Singer, who in turn allegedly arranged for a particular proctor to ensure Hoffman's daughter scored well. Her husband is actor William H. Macy, is not named in the indictment, but he is repeatedly referred to as Huffman's spouse. Okay. So just very quickly to say what is going on here. Very quickly to show what's going on. The colleges have been found now to be up for sale. They're up for hire. And this is something that I can't believe anybody's acting surprised by, or that we're acting shocked by, or we're pretending that we didn't know. But the rich people are able to basically buy their way into colleges. The accusation is, I believe it's Felicity Huffman. She had her daughter. They paid to have certain privileges given to her for her ACT or SAT test. She paid to have her daughter get extra time. She paid to have her daughter receive extra time to finish her test. Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to look up some more articles to see the list of schools that is. Okay, basically, she is being charged with paying off people to bribe her way into schools, either by being given. They went so far as to Photoshop their pictures onto athletic teams so that they looked like they had extracurriculars on their records, to paying to have more time on the standardized tests. Basically, just to put it very quickly, they are being charged with bribing people so that they can have their children put into college. Okay. Now, my favorite part about all of this is that these are the people who I wanted to point out most when I made this show. The title of the show is Inconsistency, because I feel like the most vocal people and the people that talk the most are the least consistent, the most hypocritical people out there. And there's no one who talks more than Hollywood, just in general. Obviously, Hollywood isn't a person, but Hollywood being the state of them. And what do we have with Hollywood? And also a lot of the schools. Okay, here, let me see if here are some of the schools also, because the schools are also implicated in this. Just because people did it, the schools accepted the money. So these are all these schools that are quote unquote woke that we all know of. The list of colleges and university include Yale, super woke, super progressive school; Georgetown, the University of Southern California, and Stanford. So they had USC and UCLA. So all of California. Where's more woke than California? I don't know a state that's more woke and more liberal than California. And yet, when you go to the schools and you go to their elites, they're being bought off. They say everything about, we need to help the poor, and we need to make it equal, and we need to make school free for everyone. Meanwhile, instead of making school free for everyone, you're taking spots from certain people and giving it to others because they're buying their way in, just straight up. And this I love so much because it helps me everywhere. It helps me on the front because, well, it doesn't help me, I suppose, but it helps my narrative. On the front, it helps me because, these people are hypocrites. It exposes these people as hypocrites, and it shows that the elites, as much as they say that they're for equality, when it comes to their kids, they're willing to buy favors. These schools that act like they're so woke and they're so for diversity, and it's so for equality, and how capitalism is greed and all of that stuff, they're taking bribes. But also, this is brought in a discussion that I think is a very important discussion to have. We're having both sides of the discussion now, and that discussion is like, okay, some people are using this scandal to discuss affirmative action. So people, unless you've been living under a rock, we know that affirmative action is a thing, and it basically forces schools to accept, or I believe it gives funding to schools if they meet certain brackets or they fill certain quotas regarding the number of students that identify as or fit into certain criteria, whether it be black or Hispanic or gay or whatever. If you fit certain boxes, you give the school certain tick marks, and if they fill certain quotas, they get federal funding because they're being, woke. And it's bringing up, I believe some people are justifying it as, or I believe these famous people were probably justifying it as, well, you would be qualifying for schools if it weren't for all of these people, all of these affirmative action people that get in for objectively less scores with lower standards than white people, which, on a certain point is kind of true. And if you want to look to somebody who should really be upset, it is the Asian communities, because if there's actually a lawsuit, I believe it's still ongoing, with Harvard, the Asian people were doing, because the tests or the standards were actually higher for Asian people to get into Harvard, because on average, Asian people were testing and scoring higher than the average, than other races. So they made it more difficult for an Asian student to be accepted into Harvard so that they could allow for more diversity, so that it wouldn't be all Asian people, which I believe is just immoral and sad. But that's where the discussion is, and they're suing for it. So I can see, if you're a rich person, you can be like, well, you can justify it to yourself as saying, well, if affirmative action weren't a thing, more people, you would get in, sweetie. So like, we're just evening the odds. So that's how, if you choose to look at it as in that context, to play devil's advocate there, you can. But also, people are looking at it from the other way, and they're saying, you see, this shows how privilege is real, and that we don't have a shot because we're poor and we can't afford to buy our way into school. And basically, like, everything's bought off, everything's corrupt, everything is dirty. So what can we do? And what I feel is very lost in this discussion is what I believe always is that the people most affected when you put in all of these, I'm going to just call them left-wing ideologies, or all of these social welfare or affirmative action, anytime the government or anytime a bureaucracy comes in and say, we're putting in these rules or these regulations to help the poor, I don't believe you ever end up helping the poor, because you can argue you don't help the poor by letting them into schools that they don't qualify for, because they come in, they don't succeed as well as they should. They're behind other people, so that they get extra stressed out. They don't pass. You can make arguments that say it's a lot less beneficial to take somebody who, even though they're the best in whatever, even though they're the best in this certain bracket or this certain qualifier, it doesn't help them to now be behind the rest of the class because they weren't there. You lowered the standards for them. It does not help them in the long run to do that. They would actually benefit more from being amongst people, from being a little lower back, a little further back, where they can learn at the pace that helps them, as opposed to putting them further up. You can make that argument. And the rich, they're always going to get their way. At the end of the day, I think the rich are untouchable, but the people that you really affect are the people in the middle. So the same as it goes for welfare or taxes or campaign finance laws. I'm going to give the example of the campaign finance laws, because I've thought about this before a lot. And we always say, I know AOC is very big into this. She says how we need to get, quote, dark money out of politics, and we need to reform campaign finance laws, and we need to make it so that the rich can't just buy out, so the rich can't buy a politician and all of this stuff. And we need to make it so that we control this money, but you're never going to touch the elites. You're never going to do it. The people who are always most affected are the poor, are the middle class. All right. And in the example of campaign finance law, here you go. So let's say you're a poor person, you don't have a job, you're living off of welfare. Okay. If you're living off of welfare, like I said, you don't have a job, you've got plenty of time on your hands. You've got plenty of time on your hands so that you can actually go to whatever politician suits you. And you can go and say, hey, I will donate my time, because you have more free time than somebody who's working. I will donate my time so that you, to help get you elected. And sometimes that's more helpful than money. It could be, depending on if you're the right person, you can reach more people doing that than just cutting a check. And that's very effective. And you can do that indefinitely, so long as you have the free time and you have the will to do so. And now, the other extreme being the elites, you think, okay, well, I can only donate this much money directly. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm a politician. I want your money. All I have to do is the same way these people in these colleges know how to do it. They give money to these fake charities to then, so then the money eventually gets funneled up into the person that you want them to. And not only do you get to bribe or buy off the person that you want to, you get to write it off in taxes. So if you're a person who is this elite, you can avoid it because you can afford all of these lawyers. You've got certain connections. You can afford to have your money laundered how you want to. Now, the person who's affected the most is basically, I would say, your nouveau riche. Let's say someone like your a doctor, just a very low level doctor, say making $100,000-$200,000 a year. Very, rich by some standards, but dead broke by others. You go to them, and they can't do either. They don't have enough free time to donate their time and volunteer at the political party of their choice. They don't have that freedom of time. And on top of that, they also don't have money to compete against they also don't have the money to hire all of this body of lawyers and attorneys and accountants that can facilitate them donating to their party of choice. By the way, I don't know that it's necessarily immoral to support a party with whatever you can. Also, just to put it frankly, an hour of that doctor that doctor is worth far more than an hour of the poor person. Just to put it really, I mean, honestly, there are some people who would break campaign finance laws by giving what they make in an hour to a campaign. But I mean, if you really look at it, how much different is that? If I donate an hour's worth of my work to you, is that different than me donating an hour's worth of my time to you? On a grand scale, I guess not. But once it becomes money, people think it does. But that's not the big point. The big point is that no matter what laws you try to put into place, the powerful, the elites, the well-connected, the ones with funds will always be able to get around it. And we see that with these college students. And so that whole discussion, I believe, I really like that comes out in the story. But more importantly, and I think the biggest part of this that I can't be more happy about, this shows that college is a scam. This shows that these colleges are worthless, and it shows that these schools are absolutely willing to take advantage of anyone. By the way, I believe that this story actually can lead to schools being liable for I believe this can make the schools liable for class action lawsuits, because students can argue that, hey, I was unfairly treated because I did not get accepted into this school because they were accepting bribes on this end. So personally, I can't be more happy to see these elite colleges be torn down and stripped apart, because one, they are all socialists, they're all communists, they're all terrible. The more prestigious the school, the worse it is, the more leftist it becomes. And I can't be any more against all these commies, all these commie professors that are all along these schools, all these schools that think that everything is about race and diversity and all of that. Meanwhile, they're taking bribes on the other hand. They're becoming liable. So this is the article from the Chicago Tribune. Students file lawsuits, so they're already being sued against colleges in admissions bribery scandal. In one of the first lawsuits to come out of the college bribery scandal, several students are suing Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, and other schools involved in the case, saying they and others were denied a fair shot at admission. By the way, you can say that for both affirmative action and for these bribes that are being taken, but That's just what I'm going to say. The plaintiffs brought the class action complaint Wednesday in federal court in San Francisco on behalf of themselves and other applicants, asking for unspecified damages and the return of all application fees. Ooh, they're going to get some money. They argued that the applicants who played by the rules were victimized when the rich and famous parents paid bribes that enabled unqualified students to get into highly selective universities. Quote, each of the universities took students' admission application fees while failing to take adequate steps to ensure that their admissions process was fair and free of fraud, bribery, cheating, and dishonesty, the lawsuit said. Legal experts, though, said the students could have difficulty holding the colleges responsible. The scandal erupted Tuesday when federal prosecutors announced charges against 50 people, including coaches and dozens of parents, among them TV actresses Felicity Huffman and Laura Loughlin. The prosecutor said parents paid to rig standardized exams and bribed coaches to get their children designated as recruited athletes in sports they didn't even play, thereby boosting their chances of getting in. The colleges have cast themselves as victim and moved to distance themselves from coaches by firing or suspending them. All right. But this to me isn't the important part. The important thing to me is that these schools are being exposed as a joke. And it's all a joke. You go to college thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be hanging out with the smartest on the smart. And I'm going to be learning so much. And this is going to bring me a huge, this is going to be a huge first step. And this is going to lead to a job. And you know what? Especially now, after this comes out, I believe a very big portion of these degrees are going to be worthless. If you right now are attending or did attend one of these schools that are under fire for having been bribed and accepted that, just understand that your degree has probably become worth a lot less than it was before, because now we all know that the same way we were making fun of Trump College for being basically a pay-for-play thing and you were just buying a scholarship or a degree, well, that's exactly what this is. You're just buying degrees now. And I mean, if you can buy your way into a school, I'm sure you could buy your way out with a degree. I'm sure you can buy a diploma. So just think about it and understand, to all the parents out there, understand that unless your child really needs to go to school, understand that a lot of these people, and this also goes to everybody who says, oh, we need free school for all. We need free college tuition. Understand that most people don't deserve to go to college they don't deserve to go to college for free because they didn't earn scholarships. And I understand, obviously, scholarships can be bought, which is kind of absurd on its face, but not only do they not deserve it because they didn't get a scholarship, but understand that the motivations behind a lot of these kids going to school, and this I'll go to you if you're a parent, isn't to learn, okay? And we have to look no further than Lori Loughlin's daughter herself to see what the motivation of a lot of people is when they sign up to get to these schools. Roll clip.
I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone and hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know. I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone and hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know.
Okay. Now, understand that is probably more of the student body than you would like to admit. I would gamble at least 50%. At least half of the people in the schools are there just because it literally is just one step above living at home with your parents, in that you're taking, all your money's coming either from mom and dad or from guaranteed loans by the government, which you then have to pay back, which then now they turn around and say, oh, we need student loan forgiveness for everyone. But understand that this is the people who are there. So to all the parents out there, I really want to say, understand that these colleges are overpriced. They're unfair. They're immoral. And they don't give you what you should get in the end. And you can just buy a diploma at the end of the day. And I'm telling you, this scandal is probably going to be a very big death nail in colleges that were already, I believe, under fire. And I will give out a free plug to Skillshare. If you don't know what Skillshare is a program. It's a subscription service that allows people to, that has people make basically, it's almost like a YouTube video. They make YouTube video, they make video classes online, and then you pay the subscription fee. You can watch all these classes online. They teach you to do anything from writing to graphic design to art. You look for the class, you find it, you follow it there. You can learn whatever you need to, and you can learn actual practical stuff. Short of course, the obvious lawyer, doctor. I think that we need to have actually less people in college, and I want everyone to understand that college is a scam. So just remember, Aunt Becky, she's going to jail for being a scammer, and understand that when people tell you that they're all woke and that they have your best interests at heart and that they only think for the poor, understand that everyone is selfish in general and nobody's perfect. And if you can remember that, and if you can try to do that, you can consistently look for people's motivations. And I'm gonna steal one of my old teachers. Shout out to Mr. Bartek. I'm gonna steal one of his old things, and you need to always remember why you do what you do. And you ask Lori Laughlin's daughter, her mom did what she did so that she could go out and party in the high school of her dreams. With that though, I think I got everything out of off my chest that I wanted to for the week. Be sure to follow me at Based Sammy Sosa on Twitter. You can like and subscribe the show. Please share. Like I said, I apologize that I didn't upload last week's video. I've been on hiatus for a little bit. It's a nightmare. I tried to do another one earlier. It didn't go through. Hopefully this one goes through fine. But so long as you're seeing this, be sure to follow me at Based Sammy Sosa on Twitter. Also, tomorrow I will be doing my other show with my friend Richard Lively, Debate 708. I am not sure what we're going to be talking about there, but it's sure going to be fun. It's always fun talking with Richard. Yeah, like and subscribe to the show. Please share. I love you all very, very much. Please be safe. Have a happy St. Patty's Day. Try to turn a liberal. I don't know. Let's try to make a friend who disagrees with you. How about that? How about we all go out there, and if you're a liberal, try to make a friend who's a conservative, and if you're a conservative, try to make a friend who's a liberal, and maybe we can push back this civil war. We can push back this tide of war one person at a time. We can only hope so, and we can only try. With that, I love you guys very much. I hope to see you soon. But not too soon. Hopefully there's not any really big news for me to cover. Happy St. Patty's Day. Stay safe. I wish I would have thought about it before and pulled out some outro music that was St. Patty's Day themed. But everybody have an Irish car bomb for me. Cheers to you guys. I will see you later. I love you. Adios. The music's not playing. The music's just not playing. Now I can exit.